Design inspiration, real life makeovers, and the latest in pop culture. This is the Uploft Interior Design Podcast with Betsy Helmuth.
Hello, guys. This is a tough week. This episode is going to be different. This episode is going to be different because I've been going through a lot of stuff, and I have to record an episode because, episodes in year 11. So I'm powering through, but it's a really hard week. So this is going to be a tough episode. If you guys are feeling vulnerable, if you guys are having a tough time too, I'm going to put a trigger warning at the top of this episode. It's a tough one. So protect yourself. If you're in a sensitive place, around self-harm or, I don't know, just sadness in general, take care. Okay. So normally, I talk about throw pillows and curtains, but it's been a really tough week. So I'm going to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about some clients I'm working on. And then if I have the bandwidth, I will talk about Lena Dunham's memoir, which I've been teasing for so many weeks and haven't had a chance to talk about because, life. Okay. So let's talk about life. So today I needed to record episodes. And I woke up this morning and I got this notification that my Mahjong class had been canceled. And the coordinator wrote me and was like, the Mahjong class is canceled. Would you give me a call when you get a chance? So I gave her a call because I have been seeking community here in Connecticut. I moved here 3 years ago. And I find the further you go up north, the sort of more closed people are, and the harder it is to get to know people, especially because I live on 15 acres on a road that's quite busy. So we don't have neighbors. We met friends through preschool at my last place and through our neighborhood. And here I don't have either of those things. My kids, when I moved here, were in middle school and elementary school, and did play dates on their own. They didn't need supervision. And then we live in the country essentially. So I wasn't going to meet neighbors. I met only one neighbor for the first 3 years we lived here. Anyway, so I started taking Mahjong class to create a connection with other women, perimenopausal women. And it's been working. I've been having so much fun. And anyway, so, well, Mahjong class was canceled because someone in my daughter's grade, a girl in my daughter's grade, who she did softball with and improv with, unfortunately took her life. And I don't know if you can say that on a podcast. I don't know. But anyway, so my daughter wasn't particularly close with her because she went to a different school actually. But my daughter knew her, my husband coached her, and just the idea of someone's 13-year-old not being there anymore. Um, when I was younger, before I had kids, I never cried. Not at sad movies. Like you name it, I didn't cry. Bad stuff happened. I almost never cried. And now you look at me wrong and I cry. But with something like this, I just opened a channel in me that is really difficult and really now my emotions just rest at the surface and my empathy is just always open wide for people who are struggling. So anyway, there's that. I've been crying all day because of that. And while I didn't know these parents because we're new here, I could recognize their faces. This is still a small town. Um, I saw them at the softball games, and it's just really sad. So that's been super tough. But then last Friday, I learned that one of my team members passed away. She was a very private person. So I won't reveal her name or even her role at the team here because she was so private that she really always wanted to be under the radar. But at our company, she had a huge presence. She was our shopper, which is not an easy role. And, you have to tell people that items went out of stock, or you have to tell them that there's delays on shipping, or you have to like mediate when there's a damaged piece that they've been waiting months for. Maybe they custom ordered a sofa with an upholstery that was quite specific and it came with a rip in it, and then she has to navigate that. It's such a hard role. And each client of ours has between 20 and 80 items they're ordering, and managing all of that is no easy feat. We've had many different people in this role, and she had been in it for over 3 years and was a bright, sunny light. First of all, any kind of client issue that came up, she was on it. But second of all, anytime we asked her to take on another role, because we're such a small team that if people have other skill sets, and she did, she was a designer in her own right and very talented at that. And she knew like all the software programs, she could do 3D rendering. So we were constantly adding on to her workload because she was so amenable. She's like, any way that I can help, I want to. Any extra task you can give me, I will do it. She was that kind of person who always rose to the occasion and always said yes and versus just yes. Um, she was an exemplary team member. Um, and she passed away, and we don't even really know what happened. It's just the inbox hadn't been manned for a few days for shopping, and that wasn't like her. She was always Johnny on the spot. We had a company-wide team meeting and she wasn't there, and she was always the first one in the Zoom room. So of course we were wondering what was going on, and then we got an email that she had passed. So let's just say I was already going through kind of a challenging, tough, sensitive time when this news came in this morning. And I'll just go a little bit deeper. Okay, guys, just go a little bit deeper because why not? I'm here in my jammies in my bathroom on a Thursday night recording this. So we've had two designers leave the company. One of them had been with us for over 10 years, the other for over 4. They each left for their own reasons and completely differently, but the timing was such that I've been really busy. So I have been taking the clients that they weren't able to take while we train a new team member. Actually two new team members. So I have been, in my heyday, in my busiest time, before I had employees, before I had multiple children, I would take 6 clients a week. That was the max. Like that was all I could shoulder and stay alive and breathe and exist. Well, now with 3 kids, living, before I lived right in the middle of the city and now I live an hour and a half outside of it. And I have a husband and I have like other responsibilities, of course, even outside of the 3 kids. And I have a big house rather than just a small studio apartment. Well, now I'm taking 5 to 7 clients a week. Tomorrow I have 3 presentations for clients. This is not just a bitch session, believe it or not, guys. This is, also like a strategy session. And if you're watching on YouTube, sorry that the Zoom focus keeps changing. Like, what? I got a new computer and I cannot figure it out. I even had my TikTok intern try and figure it out because she is, Gen Z or whatever, and she couldn't figure it out either. If Gen Z can't figure out my tech problems, who can? But that reminds me, if you haven't followed us on TikTok, you need to, because the other day, my wonderful TikTok assistant is also leaving because she just graduated and she's moving back home to South Jersey. And I'm so sad, but we created 53 TikToks in Home Goods, all while kind of hiding from employees because we're not sure if they're into that. I mean, it is free publicity, but at the same time, sometimes our videos get a little spicy. So head over to Uploft Interior Design TikTok if you want to see me go crazy at Home Goods for 53 videos worth. Anyway, um, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm taking 5 to 7 clients. So that means that like tomorrow I have 3 presentations, mood board, shopping list, floor plans, all the things. Um, so that's more than I've ever taken. And I stay up till 3:30 in the morning and then I wake up with my daughter at 9:30 in the morning and repeat, repeat, repeat. And I'll be repeating that tonight too. But with all this going on, it's just like, I'm a person who has other dynamics, and we're a team that's small, and we've all been rocked by the loss of our amazing, wonderful, bright, sunny light who was our shopper. And then I've been rocked by trying to like navigate with my daughter and her friends, the loss of somebody they knew really well, somebody they called a friend. Oh my God. So when I knew that I had to record tonight, because my producer is like, where is it? Sweet Jeremy. He also is so patient and wonderful. But I knew I had to bring this stuff to the table. Like, I can't just talk about rugs and artwork placement when I'm raw like this. Like, the emotions are raw. So I appreciate you listening. I appreciate if you're going through something raw. And I think it is so important. I know it's so important for me to have outlets during a time like this. Favorite shows, little escapes, small distractions. I just ate sushi while watching Top Chef, and it was a beautiful escape from my mind for a little while. So instead of answering, a listener question in this vulnerable state, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my presentations for tomorrow because it's on my mind, running like a loop. So first things first, I have the presentation for a woman that I worked with, oh my gosh, back in before I was married. So that was over 16 years ago. Probably 17 years ago. So what does that make it? 2008, 2009. And she lived in Brooklyn. And she found me on Craigslist, I think. She was working in finance and living in Brooklyn Heights. And while I was working with her, she got really, really sick. She just bought this new apartment. She got really, really sick. And in my line of work, especially before I had kids and a husband, I just had so much more bandwidth. But I saw one of my clients struggling and I knew she needed more help than just design. So I helped her. She was just moving into this new space. It had no air conditioning. She was feeling really sick. So I hooked up her air conditioner, just doing things outside of the standard scope of work to be a human that cares for another human. Well, we wound up becoming very close. And even though she was a tough cookie, like constantly revising my design plans, constantly tweaking things and saying, Betsy, I want to change this, I want to change that, she became a dear, dear friend. She actually came to my wedding. Um, she has become an amazing friend. She's since moved to LA, and I've been out to see her several times. We're just very close friends, and it's so hard to design for friends. And I'll tell you why. Not only is it hard to design for friends because it's just tricky. Like, you have a friendship, how do you charge? But if the scope of work is big, how do you give it away for free without being resentful, especially if you have lots of other things to do? So anyway, friends and family discount, of course. But then the next thing is I have the idea of who she is trapped in my mind from when we first met. And when I meet a new client, I start totally blank, clean slate, and they go through our rigorous process. But with this person, I feel like I already know her. I feel like I already know her design sensibility. We've been through it all together. But it doesn't leave room for a friend to evolve. It doesn't leave room for her to change. She moved from Brooklyn to Los Feliz. She's a different person now, or this space is different. The environment is different. The architecture is very different than a pre-war building in Brooklyn Heights. Now she's living in like this amazing little bungalow that's terracotta in Los Feliz. So it's hard to get out of my own way or my own preconceived notions and start afresh with her and say, who do you want to be? And follow those same protocols as strictly as I would if she was a new client. So I'm feeling extra responsibility, not just because we're friends, but because I have to be open to reimagining who she is and what she likes. And she wants a new chapter in her life, moving all the way across the country. And how can I quickly get on board with that rather than boxing her into who I think she is? How can I evolve with her when we're so far away from each other? So that's just an interesting challenge that I've been embracing, that I've been posing to myself as I shop for her items. Who is she now versus who was she then? And she's such an important person just in my life overall, but also, of course, in my business. Working with her was a really pivotal piece for me. I featured her space on the homepage of all my websites for so many years. Her space was featured in like my Chase spotlights for commercials. I just have so ingrained who I think she is, and I need to leave room for who she is now. So that's one client. Then my next client is on the Upper West Side, and I worked with her like 20 years ago. So long ago that I have no record of actually working with her because I redid all my systems in 2015. So if you were before 2015, I have no record of working with you that is tangible. So I designed her studio apartment back then, and it's a pied-à-terre. They actually live somewhere else. And so going back into my old designs, I can usually always remember everything about that client the minute I see their mood board, no matter how long it's been. But this one was a bit more of a struggle. And she's trying to kind of reimagine the space after being in it for so long. And now they're actually using the pied-à-terre, whereas before they had just purchased it. And so, what has changed? What has worked? What hasn't worked? What has served their lifestyle and what does not meet their needs? That's been really interesting to reimagine because I don't really remember her specific aesthetic, but now I'm working with a whole bunch of pieces that maybe I'd recommended or maybe I was quite familiar with, but trying to use them in different ways or saying these have overstayed their welcome. So that's been an interesting process of kind of excavating her evolution, right? And then my next client for tomorrow, let me see them in. Oh, yes, yes. So my next client for tomorrow is a couple that, while they're in their midlife, they're newly married and I can't remember where they moved from, but they recently moved to Jersey City. And they're wanting to be close to their friends, but their friends all live in the city and they're wanting to coax their friends out and say, come visit us, we'll make dinner. They had this beautiful, large, modern space. Maybe it's a converted factory, or maybe it's just a contemporary build. I can't recall. But high ceilings, large spaces, columns in the middle, just really spacious, but not intuitive due to all the columns and cutouts and goofy sorts of architectural obstacles and enormous windows with no privacy. So there's a lot of challenges, but the biggest challenge with this client is that pre is not the word. They're reusing some items that I didn't select, some items that are very different from each other. And it's a non-negotiable that they're reusing these. They've got a rolled arm, fully backed sectional, which lends itself towards being transitional. It's from Bassett. Then they have a TV stand that is borderline traditional. It has these large kind of ring style handles with this pewter patina. It has this sort of metallic paint that is kind of iridescent gray, and that's serving as their TV stand. And then they recently bought a chair at West Elm that has chrome and it has like cream upholstery with leather wrapping around the arms. And then they have this ladder style bookcase that's black metal with kind of rustic walnut shelves. In other words, guys, they've got a glam TV stand. They've got a transitional sectional. They've got an uber modern chair and they've got a rustic bookcase. All these things they're not going to get rid of. All these things I have to make work in one space. And I kind of have to choose what I'm emphasizing. I'm definitely downplaying the TV stand because one of these things is not like the other, and that thing is so glam and has so much personality that I can't. I don't even know where to start there. So I'm really taking my cues from the most recent thing they bought, which is that West Elm chair. But I'm also taking their cues from my cues from their inspiration pictures, which were quite contemporary. And of course, they're reusing a rug that's yellow and blue and tan and gray, but they only want neutral tones. I mean, send me strength, guys, because that's challenging. Now, I think I've come up with a really beautiful design that straddles that line between contemporary and transitional, leaning more contemporary. But I did kind of bring out some of the color from the rug because, I mean, the rug is the largest visual element in this space and it has color. I'm just really not sure how this presentation is going to go tomorrow. I think I've come up with the perfect solution to kind of bridge this gap. Well, I mean, I think the perfect solution is that they get a new TV unit, but I tried, guys. I tried in person and it just was a non-negotiable. And I do not blame people. Like how much you want to spend is totally up to you. And if there are pieces that are just working perfectly, I mean, they rent, they don't own, they're not going to be here forever. It doesn't have to be magazine ready. But I did come in under budget for them. So I'm hoping that they're willing to spend a little bit of budget on flipping that piece out because I can make the transitional sectional work, even though it's not necessarily ideal. But that TV stand, I'm just pretending it's not in the room. Well, guys, that's what's going on with me. I really appreciate your patience. I really appreciate your understanding. I'm fully aware that you guys might be going through tough things. And it might be a really tough time in your world. And I'm just sending out a lot of compassion because you just never know when things will change. And you never know when the hard time you're going through might get a little bit harder. So I appreciate you guys listening and sharing this space with me. And know that I am sending out love to you. And hopefully next week I'll be back to your questions, digging back in that listener mailbag. And if you do have questions, well, head over to uploft.com/podcast and rate me. Tell me what you're going through. Maybe this whole podcast will turn around. Instead of being pop culture and interior design, will be therapy and interior design. And then the other thing is if you're looking for some levity, if you're looking for some content where I'm not crying, well, head over to the TikTok, Uploft Interior Design TikTok. Give it a look. It's super fun. I'm having so much fun playing with my college friend who just now went back home. But we did a whole summer's worth of TikToks in 1 week. Literally 120 TikToks in 1 week. And they're so fun. They're so playful. They're goofing around with trends. I'm excited for you to check them out. It's a different side of me, that's for sure. But it was so much fun. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, bye. A big thanks to our producer, Jeremy Young, and to Aton and the Embassy for our theme music. And shout out to our parent company, Uploft Interior Design, your trusted source for expert interior design.
Visit uploft.com to explore our services and book a consultation with one of our talented designers. If you're enjoying the Uploft Interior Design Podcast, please support us by sharing the show with friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It's the best way to help new listeners find us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with more pro tips and pop culture dish.